There's been a lot of hand-wringing over Florida State losing not one, not two, but three players to the transfer portal at the wide receiver position. I disagree. I'm going to explain why here on Locked On Seminoles. Florida State is in a much better position with all the movement.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles with me. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Right now, you can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. At the end of the show, we're going to go over the best available players and some of the keys for Florida State really hitting the home run in the spring transfer portal window. In the middle, it might be the most exciting because I'm going to let a few people speak their mind and kind of go over the general comments, if you will, some very drastic ones. I'll let some of you go read them yourselves in regards to the YouTube page. Locked On Seminoles YouTube had a, let's just say, expansive list of people that were interested in the Hykeem Williams situation and others. I'll read a few, make several of my own comments, and we'll go from there. But again, go read them yourself. Like some of these I won't be able to read here. And then to begin the show, as I alluded to in the opening, Florida State is in a much better spot at wide receiver than people think. And I'm going to explain why right now. Yeah, you lost Jalen Brown. You lost Hykeem Williams. You even lost Jordan Scott. That's three players. But just like I said when Hykeem left, it's the same thing right now. It's okay. This is Florida State football. Long-term is the objective to compete and win national titles. That didn't change because Jalen Brown is no longer with the football program. Good luck to Jalen Brown, and I knew him back in high school. Good kid. Didn't work out at Florida State. It is what it is. You still have plenty of talent on the roster, and the spring portal window is open. We'll talk about a few wide receiver situations and more of a big box scenario here in just a minute in the second segment. But this is the big point. You have to develop the players you have first, always. That never changes. Florida State has 4 receivers going into their second year that are all very talented. Guys like Wayne McCoy from Miami Central, who I knew when he was in high school. He's an elite talent. These guys have to take that next step. Which players will it be? I don't know. But Florida State needs some of these guys to take that step. That's partially on them. But it is also the developmental factor that the Florida State coaches are bestowed with. Again, this doesn't change. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I get that Hykeem Williams was really talented, but it did not work out for Florida State and Hykeem. It is what it is. You must find other players now. And keep in mind, you already added Deuce Robinson. You added Squirrel White. 2 bring them in, and they're going to start kind of guys. That's a really good start to your wide receiver room. I don't understand the hand-wringing quite the same way that other people do. And I get it. It's losses when you lose players. You want to have as much competition as possible. By all means. But Florida State is not sitting here with no talent. Deuce Robinson's probably going to be one and done at Florida State after playing 2 years at the University of Southern California. He's good. Squirrel White ran around and caused problems in the SEC for multiple years before coming to Florida State. This just in. He's good too. You got Landon Thomas at tight end. You've got an improved offensive line and a quarterback that has a cannon for an arm. Somebody out of those 4 freshmen, and again, there's going to be somebody else, if not more than one, come in from the portal as well. You're going to tell me that Florida State suddenly doesn't have the ability to be good at receiver? This is not just like Miami fans jumping on the bandwagon to throw shade at FSU. There are some Florida State fans that are really concerned. Back up, take a deep breath, and realize this is the portal era. Change is the daily norm. You may not like it, but that's how this works. Florida State will be fine. Now, I do have some questions about how it should be done and will it be done in a right fashion, because we don't know, because the portal is so new in terms of the house settlement and so many other things. There's some nuances to get to in a month or two. That's got to hit in July. They could add somebody later this summer. You just don't know. But with that, I have a couple of points and questions in general. Number one, Florida State cannot sit back on their hands and play cheap here. Period. They're going to have to spend some money. The spring portal window is not inexpensive. It's pricey, and I'm being kind. Supply and demand. It runs our economy, and it runs the world's economy. Supply and demand. Florida State needs at least one receiver. You could argue two, depending on how you wanted to do it, but you need at least one, another veteran to come in some capacity. Doesn't even have to be somebody that's going to be a quote-unquote dude. Again, you got 4 freshmen from last year that are very talented. You can't tell me that at least one of them is not going to be a contributor this fall, if not 2. And to be honest, if it's not at least 2, again, I go back to the same point. We have missed in some capacity on what's going on at Florida State, because it's the Florida State coaches, the training staff, the dietitians, everybody involved in the athletic department to make sure these young men have the best opportunity to develop their physical skills. Football is a team sport. It's hard. There's a lot of mental work to it. But between your freshman and sophomore year, you should make a big jump. There's no reason to think that somebody, again, like Wayne McCoy, I'll just use him for the example today. There's no reason to think he can't go out and get 30 balls this year. He is as twitchy as it gets, and he's got elite hands. I've seen it myself numerous times from 15 feet away. Like, the dude can play. BJ Gibson or somebody, I don't care which one you want to go with. Pick one. Fryer, doesn't matter. You have to find a way to get these guys ready. If nothing else, if one or two doesn't want to be here because Florida State decided to go out and get somebody from the portal, you know what? This is the portal era for them too. It works both ways. The schools have to do what's best for them. The players have to do what's best for them as well. If they want to leave, that's their decision. But Florida State pretty much has to go get a receiver at this point. If they don't, they're really rolling the dice. And the coaches are betting on those guys that are going to be sophomores if that's the case. But again, Florida State is not, I repeat, they are not in as bad a situation at receiver as some are making this out to be. There's still time. There's plenty of opportunity over the summer, and you've got young players with skill. By the way, just to throw out another example, position changes happen. Mekhi Danzy is moving from running back to receiver. Who knows? Maybe it's only 10 passes he catches this fall, but he's one of the fastest kids in college football. I mean, he is a blur. Maybe he catches a bomb against Miami and helps win that game. There are so many things to look at from Florida State's young wide receivers. Let's give it some time. Be patient. Don't freak out about any of these guys leaving. And if you're one of the people that weren't freaked out, thumbs up to you. Not everybody is like that, unfortunately. And to be honest, many people have been. Just reading message boards, kind of going through the comments on my own YouTube page, Locked On Seminoles. There are people you can tell are very nervous. We've got time here. It's going to be okay. When we come back, I'm going to talk about some fan comments, partially due to the wide receiver situation, talk about needs, what's going on in the portal. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Florida State fans are not shy. The Locked On YouTube page for Florida State, that's always been a group that kind of lets it fly. And I'm not talking about the idiot brigade that comes in from other fan bases, Florida, Miami, whatever. Some of Florida State's own fans take some unnecessary shots here and there, but they also have some good points. So without further ado, just going to talk about a little bit of some of the things that have went on, and then we'll get into some players. But I just want you to understand that community has really blossomed for whatever reason on Locked On Seminoles, the YouTube page. Yeah, we have several people that like to make comments. I can only say so much here for legality reasons, but if you want to check it out, go to the one with Hykeem Williams I did just a few days ago. That one's got 200 and some comments. There's plenty in there for your entertainment, just as an example. All right. This is a basic one. So we'll just start soft here. And I might even go over to the YouTube page and just read one or two. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. But this is a basic conversational piece. I asked the question, what would you like to see Florida State do in the portal? That was one of the questions I asked recently. And Douglas Beck 1 says, I'd like to see us sign a safety. It's ironic that he brings that up because I've talked about this recently. The secondary is something that Florida State shouldn't have a problem with. They got a deep room, but it sounds like some of the players didn't necessarily catch up yet with the new scheme, maybe positionally. I don't know what it is. They didn't let the media in, so there really are no reports. But it sounds like Florida State didn't do a very good job in the secondary compared to what Norvell wanted and certainly not what I wanted. I thought it was going to be the deepest room of all of them. Apparently I was wrong. But then again, they also lost guys to injury. That's makes me sigh every time, but there's really nothing you can do about it. Injuries are injuries. Been a lot of hand-wringing about the staff, and I'm not sure if it's the strength and conditioning staff. Everybody wants to blame them too, but a lot of this is just football, man. It's football. But multiple safeties were injured, Jalen Brown, etc., and they have guys that are sitting out. Would it be nice to add a safety, an experienced player? Sure. But I don't think that's a priority. You have so many big corners that could move to safety. Even Quindarius could if you wanted him to. And you have guys in the back end too, like Conrad Hussey, that could play corner, nickel, or safety. Ashlyn Baker. I don't know who's going to start at this point because of the new scheme. I usually, by now, have my own depth chart written out. For any school that I cover or I'm really curious with, I'll have a depth chart because I have so many friends I can call and ask, and I can get their take. Well, Florida State, with the new staff and them not showing anything, it's really hard. All I can tell you is, Mr. Douglas Beck, I wouldn't be against it. But right now, do we know what the depth chart really looks like for Florida State? Because they went out of their way, flat out, to hide anything because they're worried about guys hopping in the portal, period. But that's where we are. If you want to go that route, I'm cool with it. But understand this, there's still a lot of talent in that secondary. You got the summer with all the 7-on-7 work and the drill work. Yeah, I know it's not with the coaches, but player-led practices. They have time to work on the playbook, and that's the most important thing. And then all the way through fall camp. I think safety will be better than most people think, but they do have one concern. Guys just can't keep getting hurt like this. The bad luck has to end. I don't know how you fix that, but it still has to happen. That's about as awkward as it gets, but that's something to bring up. Richard Paridi says, quarterback, wide receiver better do work this summer. Alabama is going to stack the box and make Florida State prove it can pass the football. 100% right. I've said that. Many other people have said it. There have been a few Alabama, Florida State previews on both sides in some capacity, or just comments from people on the message boards, 24/7 Noles, War Chant, whatever it is that you go to. I would stack the box if I was Alabama. I mean, you've got a run-first quarterback. until otherwise proven, and Thomas Castellanos, at least when he's in Gus's offense. And you have I don't want to say a green group of receivers, but the receivers don't know the quarterback that well. Deuce and Squirrel have had some work with Thomas, but have they had the amount they need by this point? No, not even close. Too many guys banged up, including those two this spring at the receiver position. That hurts. I'm sure Alabama is well aware. And Alabama is really loaded up front. It will be interesting to see how they attack Florida State's running game, because the Noles are going to run at them. There's no doubt. But Bama's massive, and they got a lot of talent. So that is a rather interesting scenario. And I really don't know what the best answer is to kind of fix it, other than Florida State in the offseason. The receivers, man, they have to hit it. They can't miss. They really can't miss. There has to be an accountability at the receiver position, I think, in particular. And I'm not just picking on them, but there's a lot going on there. So let's see what happens between now and the end of summer. We'll get reports. But I agree. The receivers and quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, they got to be on the same page, or else Alabama's going to load the box, and it'll be a long, long day. Just a couple other comments that I'm going through. This is from the podcast about Hykeem Williams leaving. It's just random comments here. I said that he was a starter. This person, Steven, says, calling him a starter is a stretch. Deuce and Squirrel are the top two, and I think Boggs and McCoy are probably three. You could argue that. I don't have any problem with that. Stephen Batane, I don't know if I pronounced your name right, but that's an interesting take, Stephen. I think there's some truth to that. But it is what it is. Everybody's got their own take on the depth chart and what needs to happen next for the Florida State Seminoles. All right, let's see here. There are a couple others that I can actually read, but not all of them. There are several that I'm a little iffy on. Here's one that I totally love. Marv Clare, the all-grown man crying about a kid making his own decision, win some games, you all mad for no reason. Marv, I don't think you're wrong. I really think that's basically what I led with. And again, there are tons of comments like that on the podcast that I did with Hykeem Williams as the focal point. That was a podcast that, let's just say, stoked some fires. Let's leave it at that. But the name of it is Breaking Florida State Loses Starter to Transfer Portal, and it's about Hykeem from a few days back. I want to break off into some of the kids that they're recruiting, some of the things they got going on with regards to the portal, but two guys in particular that I want to, well, there's actually more than two. It's probably about six, to be really honest with you. But there's one in particular in Florida State. I tweeted this on X recently. Keon Marian. He's a kid that played at BYU. Since we're on the subject of wide receivers, he was a guy that has been offered by a bazillion schools, Miami, Texas, Florida State, all over the place. But he was a receiver at BYU last year. And at Brigham Young, he had 18 returns as well. But here are his receiving numbers, 457 snaps, so he's durable. Florida State could certainly use that. 24 receptions, 346 yards, 14.4, and one score last year. Keon Marian is 6 feet, 195 pounds. Not the biggest guy, but he's got enough size, and he's productive, and he's healthy. Those are good traits. As for the return game, he had 18 returns over 400 yards, a couple touchdowns, and 26.7. So if you have return touchdowns, you're an athlete. I have no idea where this guy's going. He was at BYU. He can go wherever. The offer list is through the roof. We'll see how it goes. But that's one of Lord only knows how many good receivers that are in the portal. And I'd imagine that there'll be several more that are really, really talented as well. I've got a couple of guys here that I'm debating on how I want to rank them in terms of the importance. But Florida State, there's a receiver that's coming out of Illinois State that it blew up, didn't do nothing his first 3 years. This is an overview, though. Like, the portal is so hard. First 3 years, he did nothing. Like, didn't even play at all his first year, got in a few snaps his second year, played just teeny bit his third year, and then went bananas. Bananas. His senior year, he's got 1 year left. He's out of Illinois State. It's crazy. I mean, it's just really crazy. The player is Xavier Lloyd, 6'2", 195 pounds. I don't even think he had 5 catches his first 3 seasons, but this past year, I think Florida State should look at this guy. 65 catches, 909 yards, 14 touchdowns, I believe it is. Or no, 14 average, 6 touchdowns, 69.5 for his offensive average, 69.3 for receiving. His drop rate, 86.3, so he's got elite hands. He just has to work on fumbling. He fumbled a couple of times last year, but 917 snaps for Xavier Lloyd. That's putting in work. Holy cow, they never took that kid off the field. He had 38 first downs, 20-plus yard plays, passes down the field. He did pretty well. Caught 13 of them, averaged 44.8 yards of reception, had 4 catches or 4 touchdowns on those. He also had 11 contested catches. So Florida State, again, the whole wide receiver thing, that's the theme of today's show. There are guys out there they can get. There are some that are big-time players from the P4, Keon Marian. Then this kid, Xavier Lloyd sounds pretty good to me. I don't care what level you play at, if you have 11 contested catches and you caught 13 passes that traveled more than 20 yards in the air, you're probably pretty good. So, and by the way, he's 6'2", 195 pounds. So he's got some height to him, and he's a pretty good player. When we come back, we're going to talk about a few more players that I think they should definitely take a look at in the transfer portal, but we're going to switch to the defensive side of the football. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off draws near, and their last-minute ticket deals can save you up to 60%. Here is a choice for choosing Game Time right here. Again, as the game gets closer, or the concert, or something with a comedy show, or whatever it is, you can go to theater, you can go to a movie. Tickets go down up to 60%. Plus, there's all-in pricing. You know how you look at something and it shows a price and you get to register somewhere, and it's really different? With Game Time, you get all-in pricing. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Florida State definitely needs to hit the portal on the defensive side too. And there's been a lot of people that have made comments on the YouTube page, or I've talked about it. Maybe another defensive lineman. You always have to at least look. Pass rushers, whether interior, stand-up outside linebacker, or a guy that could maybe play the strong side edge, whatever it is. If you can find one of those, even a rotational guy, you should look. Now, by the time this airs, 1 or 2 of these kids may have committed somewhere. I'm doing this podcast Sunday afternoon. Anything is possible. But here are a few of the guys that I've researched, and I just want to kind of go over. The first one, I'm flat out, I picked him first because not only is he a good football player, but he represents our country. He's at Army. Going to Army is a choice that is hard. If you're really good and you played at Army, you're somebody that I'm impressed by. Elo Modozi. He is a pass rusher. He is a thumper. And he's at Army. Like, the daily routine with that, Florida State could use some more discipline with their football program. I am steadfast with that. I'd imagine many of you think the same. Georgia agrees with me. If Georgia's recruiting an edge guy out of the transfer portal, that should be a sign that this young man has some character that they need, because they've been through the rubber or the ringer here recently that's not very good. They're probably looking for kids with sparkling records. Elo Modozi probably fits that. He's coming from Army again. So we'll see. But I would love to see an edge guy that can play standing up or go down into a three-point stance, join the Florida State football program. Modozi's one of the most pivotal guys in the portal for Florida State and many others to go after, because he can be either versatility and pass rushing. That's what he offers. I'd love to see Florida State at least get him on campus. David Stone. This is a random one. I actually had somebody ask me a question about him on my Locked On the Portal page, is Florida State looking at him, or did he look at Florida State at high school? I can't remember the exact way it was asked of me, but Stone was a 5-star defensive lineman, ranked number 5 by Rivals overall, regardless of position, 6'3", 295 pounds. I got to know David a little bit during his time at IMG Academy. Elite football talent. He's originally from Oklahoma. He went back home. In doing so, he also chose not just Oklahoma, but it was like the expectation, like there was never a doubt. And then out of the blue, he was in the portal. I have no idea what's going on there. I've heard even Oklahoma State's involved, Ohio State, all over the place. But many of the coaches he dealt with during his recruiting process, I don't know where they're going to be. Miami will be involved. They're definitely in it. But this is a situation where you got to at least make the phone call. This kid's probably 3 and out. Very athletic, and he's the rare interior pass rusher. I've seen it numerous times, whether at a 5-on-5 big man camp, Under Armour, a practice at IMG, and seeing this film. He understands the technique of the position much, much better for somebody his age, and that's a big deal. Florida State could definitely use him. It would help change your trajectory on defense. Next, this is a great story. Irvington, New Jersey, to Syracuse, Murad Watson played 1 year. He wasn't ranked in the top 1,000 players by 24/7 coming out of high school. But after 1 year at Syracuse, the big run stuffer is getting a lot of attention. He's 6'2", about 315, and he has the ability to play the run. Like his run grade is in the upper 70s by PFF. And he's only played 1 year, and it's proven. That's why this is just some of the schools. I'm not giving the full list here, but he has Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Tennessee among the schools after it. Florida State would do well to get another D tackle. That's why I just brought up Stone. Might as well at least make a phone call there because, again, D linemen are important. Finally, a guy that Florida State fans would like to forget unless he comes to Florida State. Bo Atkinson, 260-pound defensive end / terror that just absolutely annihilated Florida State's offensive line last year. 3 sacks or 4, I can't remember, but Bo Atkinson was everywhere. Blitz, stunt, speed rush, spin move, whatever it was, he was in the backfield destroying Florida State's offensive line. It was a joke. He's in the portal. This is a guy that would be a very long and athletic guy to add to a defensive line that's going to be a combo. Sometimes in 3-man fronts, sometimes in 4. They could use him in a lot of different ways. Bo Atkinson, that would be a great addition. I don't know why he's leaving North Carolina, but man, Florida State could use another edge rusher. That'd be great. We'll see what happens, but there are a lot of guys in the portal like this. It's all over the map. Florida State has to hit. There's plenty of time because it's just getting started. And by the way, the portal does not close until this upcoming Friday. So April 25th, it concludes. And then you don't have to sign by then, but you have to have your name in. Florida State's going to have some activity within the next 7 to 10 days. I guarantee it. And we will be covering it right here on Locked On Seminoles. Please give us a like, thumbs up, hit that notification bell, and subscribe to this podcast. Truly appreciate it. Give us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your pods. We will see you again soon here on Locked On Seminoles.